now. And I told you earlier about my guest now. Well, it's time now to talk to him. And this guy is an all-round business executive and a communication strategist. He's actually a very strong experience in information technology and communications. He is currently the director of business operations with Dalex and also a strong corporate strategist. Put your hands together. Show some love for Mr. Joe Jackson. Yes, sir.
I like that
Mr. Joe Jackson. Welcome. It's good to have you here.
Good to be here.
Hey.
I'm looking at the set. Nice set.
Thank you. And I watch you a lot, man. Man, you speak. Who can say?
Manodin kaka.
So I've been watching you, and of course, you make so much sense. And I said to myself, I have to have this man on my show, man. So put your hands together. And today he's here with us. Mr. Joe Jackson. We're going to shoot the breeze. We're going to talk. Yeah. Because let me ask you this. Yeah. Before we get into any other stuff, you are very outspoken. Have you had any problems? Because Ghana. Hey, it's like this. Have you had any?
Eddie is putting it mildly, right?
Eddie is putting it mildly.
People come up to you. Joe, you din kakra.
How do you react to that?
My reaction is, first of all, this year I was 55. I'm not a young man anymore.
Thank you.
And if somebody doesn't stand up to speak in this country, and somebody doesn't say that, listen, the truth is in the somebody doesn't stand up to say the truth, and you pander to the the partisanship that is prevalent everywhere, then you have a problem. Anyway, when we were kids, my parents used to say something. Say, Dianisha were no more. Unkasa. But literally, that's the truth.
Yeah.
If you are blessed to be in a position where you don't have to pander to the politics of the day or the partisanship, then you listen. I'm a blessed person in this country. I went to some of the best schools in this country. I'm a privileged person. I don't lie to myself, and I owe it to this country that is giving me so much more. After all, I only went to school here. I've lived here. I've made money here. My family is here. Wow. Listen, I owe it to this country that if I can, and I'm blessed to be able to speak out, then I should.
Is this like a national service to speak for a country?
It is. And the punishment for those who refuse to speak up is to be ruled by the fools. If you think you are wise and you refuse to speak up, the tax will take over. So we must speak up. And there's this, I don't know why are you so afraid? Speak the truth. And the truth
shall set you free.
Shall set you free. The good book said that.
Well, on speaking the truth, which I agree with, but the belief, whether true or not, whether perception or reality, is that if you speak the truth, it could be risky to you if you have a business. Because if the truth is not very, very seen as being kind, then have you have you heard that?
Oh, I've heard that several times. You know my response?
Yeah.
Speak with the arrogance of the righteous. If you do the right thing, and listen, no business is perfect. I have my warts, I have my challenges, I have my problems. No business is perfect, just like no human being is perfect. But as a business, seek to do the right thing. And if you seek to do the right thing and you're not greedy, listen, you can speak and nothing will happen.
Fantastic, man. Shows
Nothing
love.
will happen. Nothing will happen. Anyway, listen. Let's be frank. This is Ghana, right? MPP is in power. Everybody's cousin is in MPP. NDC in power. Everybody's cousin is NDC. Listen, sometimes we are even afraid for nothing.
Yeah.
Yes, and we self-police. That's the worst part. It's self-inflicted. The limitations are self-inflicted.
We impose the censorship on ourselves.
Thank you. And the censorship is worst from friends and family. They are scared for you.
Yeah.
They say, "Hey, Joe, I have an auntie. She's it's like my godmother. Joe, yezi kakra. Joe, yezi kakra." But hey.
Yeah. Well, we can also say that there's no reason why they say that. We've seen a few instances in our history where people who speak up have been, dealt with.
It is true. It is true. There's always a risk to speaking up. But is that risk higher than not speaking up? And that's what we should ask ourselves. One, it is a duty. Two, the risk of not speaking up is higher. We are all affected by what happens. We are all, whether we like it or not, whether you hide or not, the actions of authority, the actions of our managers, the actions of those who, they affect you. So you can choose to go quietly or you can choose to speak up. I happen to choose to speak up.
Okay. And I'm glad you mentioned that you're all Ghana, schooled here. So let's go back a bit. Where did you do your secondary school?
Which school? Which is the only school? Where is it?
Oh, did you go to Prempeh?
Yeah. I went to the only school, Fansum School. I went to Fansum School.
Okay. Oh, nice. Yeah.
I went to Fansum School and I went to University of Ghana. Listen, all my formal schooling is in this country. I've not had a day formal schooling outside Ghana.
Really?
So
first PIM and then University of Ghana?
Yes, I'm a proud Ghanaian. My success as a business person was in Ghana.
And you even transported?
Yes.
I know at one point you set up a company?
Yes. Listen, I started
in Nigeria?
Yes, I started life in Ghana. You won't believe it. A year after school, I was walking in Europe. And literally, can you imagine? I met a mate of mine. And he says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm in Europe." But it was the streets of London, North London. And I said, I don't want to be here. But I don't know what to do. He says, "What are you going to do?" He says, "I want to go back to Ghana and develop software." This was in 1990. And I said, "I want to do the same thing." So we said, "Snap." A year later, we had formed the Soft Tribe. And it was successful. Maybe a little bit more successful than young men our age.
Yeah.
Part of the challenge was managing that success. It was that successful. I mean,
it was so successful you had a problem managing the success.
Yes. It was.
Wow.
Life was a bit crazy in those days. Yeah. I mean, now I'm an older, wiser man. I'm an older.
Yes, Soft Tribe was it, man.
It was.
I remember you developed apps and things for.
It was it.
So locally, in tune with the business, everything.
It was it. I remember in 2003 when we sold 40% of the company to a venture capital fund for $1 million.
What year was this?
This is 2003. And at that time, they asked us, give us some estimate of how, of your hold on this market. So one guy says, tell us how many companies in Ghana Club 100 are you dealing with in an ongoing basis? Do you have a contract with, not just you sold to one off, but on an ongoing basis you have a contract with? 26 companies in Ghana Club 100 in 2003 were dealing with us on an ongoing basis. Wow. With a yearly contract to develop, maintain, provide software. It was it.
Wow.
It was it. At our peak, we had over 60 employees, and 25 of them were developers. In fact, my partner, And we were partners for over 19 years. My partner, Herman, likes to call himself the Bill Gates of Africa. Don't call me that. Yeah, I'm just Joe Jackson.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you won't believe this. After this success in 2003, where we had raised venture capital and life was good, at the end of 2005, I caught some bug, or I must have smoked something, because I sold my shares to Herman and took the money and went to set up a software house in Nigeria. But Nigeria was good.
How long were you in Nigeria?
I was in Nigeria for 6+ years, from the beginning of 2006 till after 2011. And listen, Nigeria, I made more money than I'd ever dreamt of, but I also lost more money
Than you ever dreamt
than I ever dreamt of. Nigeria was great. I mean, at one time in Nigeria, I was the official supplier of HR and payroll software to the Aliko Dangote group, the whole group. Oh yes, Nigeria was a huge. I mean, because Aliko is hands-on. I mean, I'm proud to say that several times we sat down and we worked together. And at one time, I was even the signatory for his for the Dangote Foundation. We signed some huge checks. Should have framed some and put it on the.
Wow.
No, but it was.
So when you sell your company in Nigeria and come back, were you missing Ghana, or the money was not something you couldn't?
No, but listen, in Nigeria, in that 6 years, I was in a plane crash in Abuja. I was shot at by armed robbers. What happened? Someone, a politician living down my road, was cut to pieces with a machete. It goes on and on and on. In that 6 years, it was such an event. Imagine making money, traveling all over Nigeria, running into issues. I just woke up one day and I said, no mass, finished. It's all over. It's done. And I ended up in Ghana. So I did a fire sale, came back to Ghana. Came back to Ghana at the beginning of 2012.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
But listen, I've lived a life and a half. I tell you, I feel so blessed, because Soft Tribe was successful. And because my partnering with my partner was easy, it was called Soft Tribe Nigeria, even though he didn't have a share. And Soft Tribe Nigeria was even more successful. So I came back to Ghana and, hey, started to do the grind here. And by that time, I had now morphed into this strategy person, what they call fintech evangelist, because I'm preaching in the financial sector. I'm bringing my experience in the IT industry to bear and saying we've got to do things differently, and we have an opportunity to leapfrog. And even though I did a lot of work for different banks, etc., it was Delex that gave me, let's say, a home to play around with some of the ideas that I came in. And Delex was, listen, why do I feel blessed? Delex, some of the statistics are incredible. In 5 years, we gave employment to over 3,000 people.
In 5 years?
In 5 years. We're growing 100% year on year over that 5 years. We transformed the company from a company that was what? Tenths or even lower in terms of market share into one of the biggest companies in the non-bank financial sector. That is something, listen, honestly, every day I go down on my knees and I say, thank you, Lord, because I feel that in business, I'm blessed. And of course, I have a lovely family too. I have 2 daughters. I have a wife who's...
Who's your wife?
She's called Margaret. Margaret, yes. My mother was also called Margaret.
Okay.
That must mean something.
That played a hand in your picking?
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But I have a wonderful wife. I have 2 daughters.
They are
27 and 24.
In Ghana?
My older one is in Ghana. The younger one is doing a master's outside.
Okay.
The older one is in Ghana working with her mother. And
what's your mother's name?
Margaret Jackson.
Margaret, you just said Margaret. And your daughters?
My daughters is Baba and Nana.
Okay.
I give them local names. You know, if you end up a name like Joe Jackson, you've got to kind of balance it. So is Baba Jechua and Ekwanya
There's names.
I'm from Senyabreku. I'm from Senyabreku.
Oh, you're from Senyabreku?
Yes, my father is from Senyabreku.
Okay.
And my father was both Senyabreku and Winneba. So I give a shout out to all my
Senyabreku fans out there.
Fans out there. my mother was a typical Fanti woman. Fanti baker.
Oh, she was a baker?
She was a baker, not Tupano. Fanti not Tupano. Short.
What afro from there?
Listen,
what is this thing about?
And listen, I'm not joking, KSM. Let the record show that this is not about fancy stereotypes. This is about me, myself, with my eyes. I've seen roasted plantain so soft that you can't stand by itself. That is how soft. Cut into 2 and butter put in the middle and eaten. Yes, pen.
Wow. Wow.
Fancies. No.
I know, I'm married to one.
You're married to one. No, but it's been. I walk around feeling blessed and happy.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
And maybe I'm not as wealthy as I could have been. But I'm a happy man.
A happy man.
That is the key to life. Contentment.
And we're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll find out what makes you tick. Why are you so loud, and what is it that gets you to talk so much? Joe Jackson in the house, man. Stick around. We'll be right back.
The KSM Show.
Yeah, we're back and we're hanging out with Mr. Joe Jackson. And Joe, we are so glad that I have you here finally, man. What makes you tick? Why do you have this vim that if it's not good or if it's good, I will say it? Why are you unstoppable?
I'm not sure
what
about
makes you unstoppable? Let me put it that way.
But I grew up in an atmosphere where you speak your mind. Really, 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 as a child. My father encouraged us to speak our minds. And so at the base of all this is somebody who enjoys to speak his mind. And when you combine that with with being able to analyze situations and connect the dots, and a sense of responsibility. See, really a sense of responsibility. A sense that this country has been so good to all of us. It's that sense of responsibility that makes me want to speak out, really. So one is that I grew up speaking my mind. My father, blessed memory, my mother, of course, they've all passed on. But I grew up speaking my mind. I grew up expressing my opinion. We grew up traditional, what I call very traditional middle class Ghana. My father was a civil servant. My mother was a fancy baker. That tells you everything. And then also, you'd be surprised, growing up through this period of 79, 81, and I grew up as an adult, as a young man of 17 years plus. I saw what happened in 81. I saw what happened in 79 first, and then 81, and its aftermath. And sometimes that leaves an indelible impression on you. And a lot of the young people now don't realize the hunger, the difficulties
You've been through?
we've been through before. And then we want to say, never again. We should not let this happen. And I remember clearly in 81, as a young man in sixth form in Infantswim, standing behind a truck from Cape Coast to Mankasim, joining another, go sit down, as we call it, standing behind a truck and ending up at Circle, and walking from Circle to my home in Teshinungwa because there was no transport. That leaves an impression on you. It's about 79, watching my father he was a civil servant and he was locked up for weeks. It's about 81, seeing people die. It was about that culture of silence and saying, no, I saw this happen.
You don't want to see it again?
I don't want to see it again. And it happened because people who should have spoken up, people who knew better and had enjoyed of the largesse of this country failed to speak up. That's what pushes me.
Let me ask you this, because here you are in this mode, yeah, very radical, because you've seen radical times.
Yes.
Okay, and here we are now under the era of social media, where everybody's laid back, and even sometimes the people that you want to wake up, the people that you want to sort of inspire to really develop that sense of urgency. They also grew up in a time when it was all cool and social media and it was Facebook. Do you feel frustrated somehow getting your word message?
Not really. I tell you what, I am very active on Twitter.
Okay.
I'm extremely active on Twitter. I want to encourage everyone. You want to listen to me? Go look for Joe_Jackson_GH on Twitter. And I like Twitter because we engage more. Of course, there are some people say, what about being trolled? What about people saying negative comments? But it's the engagement and it's the ability to have a conversation. Otherwise, it's only on Twitter where now I can have a conversation with somebody like Honorable Seth Tekpe, who used to be the minister, and have a give and take on some of the issues, and have a conversation with some of the people in power. So guess what? Social media for me is fantastic. It gives me
the president's on Twitter. Have you communicated?
Pardon?
The president is on Twitter.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you chat with him?
We chat. He follows me. I follow him. He will put up a post. I would respond. As much as social media has its own disadvantages, the problem is that sometimes when you're chatting with the person, you don't know whether it's him or it's So don't overestimate. Don't overestimate.
Don't get carried away.
Don't get carried away. For all you know that His Excellency is sitting there and he doesn't know jack about what you're saying. But the good side is that
I understand.
At least you can have a voice.
What worries you about Ghana now?
A lot.
A lot?
A lot. I'm worried about how much we've borrowed. I'm worried about how much we borrowed. And let me tell you something. Let nobody tell us that, but the US has borrowed over 110% of its GDP and Ghana has already only borrowed 60% of its GDP or any of the other statistics. The issue really is this, KSM. The US pays 6% of its tax revenue, etc., to service its debt. Ghana uses 40%.
That's the difference. 6% and 40.
And 40%. So the US can keep borrowing because they will not even hit 10% of their revenue. We are spending 40% of our money just servicing debt. We are a broke country. And guess what worries me? Me and you, another 20, 30 years. Guess what? Even if God is good to us, we are at the departure lounge. Injury time.
Yeah.
The young ones will pay. And they're borrowing forward. They're borrowing for 30 years. They're borrowing for 20 years. So 20 years. So if you're in your 20s now, you're in your 30s now, in your prime, you'll be paying that debt. That should worry us. That people as old as us are borrowing when they will not have a hand in the repayment. And they're not using the money for what they should use it for. They're using the money to just pay off debt. So that worries me. It worries me about this country. The fact that we are not spending enough on development expenditure worries me. Go and look at Rwanda. Look at how much they are spending on infrastructure and other things that will grow the country. Come to this our country, we are spending less than 5% of our revenue on infrastructure. How do you grow? How do you grow? Our parents spent huge amounts of money educating us because it was an investment in our development. As a country, we can talk about free SHS, but free SHS is not a magic bullet. Too little money is spent on things that will grow and develop this country.
Where would you want to see the money spent, for example?
Some are so obvious it's unbelievable. Roads. No, not just, forgive me, not overheads in Accra. Roads into the agric areas so that food will come easier. Roads into the mining areas. Go to Takwa today and look at the road that goes to a mining area. So, you see, some of it is not, it's not even just the fact that we're not doing the right thing. Even the little we spend is spent as political reward and not as a tool for development. And when we spend the money, sometimes we because of corruption scares me to death. Because it means the little we are spending, we're whittling around, we're whittling away over 40%, and in some estimates. So sometimes when we do good, and it looks good, the cost is incredible. And it's easy to look at the current airport Terminal 3 and say, it's a great thing. Until somebody tells you that we are not able to service the cost of Terminal 3. And Terminal 3 costs us far more than it should. Or the fact that we have power, the independent power, and yet each month we are shipping out hundreds of millions of dollars to pay for power that we can't use.
Why?
Because the people who signed the agreements that ended up, we were in a deficit. They signed agreements, and the agreement said, whether I use it or not, I will pay. So what happened? We are not using it and signed agreements far in excess of our capacity. So now you are sitting here, you were in doomsday situation. You're not in doomsday anymore, but guess what? People have signed contracts that are far in excess of what you need. And the nice part for them is that whether you use it or not, you pay.
Isn't it up to us to find a way to use it? I'm sure that there could be a zillion things we could do if we really put our minds to it and say, we have this excess power wasting. Let's turn it around. Let's use it for what? Oh, so many things.
You know,
can come to my mind.
If it was power, if it was if it was anything else about power, life, the conversation would be much simpler. But to use the power, you got to have industries. Industries don't take a month to set up. Look, how long have we been talking about one district, one factory? How far have we gotten to? So, you're right, we should use it, but if you gave a young man of 18 years $1 million and said, spend it in the next 1 month, he's going to find a hard time spending it, or he'll do himself harm. So it's not always that easy to say, we have so much overcapacity that I don't know how we're going to use it, and we are paying for it.
Trust me, if we bring, and I hate to say this, but bring the Chinese in, bring, what do you call it? Some British, some French people, and then task them and you'll be amazed at what they will tell you we can use our excess power for. Isn't there something with us as a people that we are not able to think through things that we need and actually engineer them? I would be very shocked if...
You see, the challenge you have is, this is the same Ghana, where Cuckoo came into this country. Cuckoo was never known here. Cuckoo took 5 years to mature, and yet, in a few short years, we became the world's #1 producer of cocoa. Ghanaians are smart. Ghanaians are entrepreneurial. Ghanaians are prepared to do the right thing if the incentives are right. Unfortunately, partisanship and corruption have messed up the incentives. That's the truth of the matter. Ghanaians are smart. We're very brilliant people. We've had the benefit of being comfortable. I grew up in independent Ghana. I've always known who I am in this world. I've never been oppressed in a certain way. I don't feel inferior. And that is so for millions of us Ghanaians. And yet, corruption, partisanship have meant that the incentives to do the right thing are not there. So all of a sudden, to do the right thing, I hear you. We only have to go and bring somebody who doesn't play a part in the paradigm that we have here. So go and bring the Chinese. They are not as corrupt.
Yeah.
The Chinese are corrupt.
Yeah.
Go and bring the British. But you see, sadly, all we're doing is selling that birthright that was bequeathed to us.
No, I understand you. I guess I'm thinking the deep problem that all of us seem to be forgetting, and I hear you talking about how we are very entrepreneurial in Ghana and people are willing to work, but I see that Ghanaians, we have so underutilized whatever capacity we have.
No.
We have. You don't think
we
so?
haven't underutilized it. We don't have incentives to utilize it. You see, if your heroes made money because they became politicians and not because they set up a business, even if your heroes who set up a business made money because they were corrupt and greedy and fraudulent, like what we see now with the financial sector, what incentive is there to work hard? What example are we setting for the young people? Because listen, and forgive me if I get a bit excited for this. I'm an excitable person already. But we sit in this country where the single biggest expenditure we've made over the last 10 years is in the financial sector cleanup, where we've already spent 10 billion and the total cost is going to go as high as 21 billion in some estimates. And yet, the people who were greedy, corrupt, are holding on to the loot. And the receivers haven't been able to even get 10% of what has been spent to date. What example are we giving to our people? We're saying that it is okay to be corrupt. And today I say clearly, I'm using your platform and I'm jumping on and I'm saying that those who cost us the $10 billion debt to date and an estimated 21 billion, 10 billion cedis, and an estimated 20, they should pay. They should be taken to court. The money should be taken away from them. Because if we don't do that, we're setting the wrong incentives for generations to come. They should pay. The financial sector cleanup has been too expensive. Do you know how much we spent on education? 1.something billion cedis. Do you know how much we want to borrow from the Chinese? The 2.5 billion that we want to borrow from the Chinese is barely 12 billion cedis. And yet we spent 10 billion already in this short period of 3 years. And we want to spend another 11 billion. Guys, somebody must pay back that money. Somebody must pay back. We can't. We shouldn't allow it to happen. Apologies.
Yeah, no, I get your frustration. I get the frustration.
It's too frustrating.
Yeah.
And then I hear the governor sometimes can say he's appealing to the Chief Justice to help him. Oh, Governor, you are my senior boy from a fast film. But if you are begging the Chief Justice to help you, what am I supposed to do? And the minister says he's frustrated that the receivers are not taking more. You are the minister, you are government. What are you supposed to do? So what am I supposed to do? Feel less frustrated or more frustrated? We should do something about this. The money is too big. And you know what? There are too many big men involved. So, and I put big men in big quotation marks. Too many big men involved. And so as Ghanaians, we are not sure. I don't want to. He's a big man. And he's respected. And he's this and he's that. And so we're not. But we can't do this. We can't do that. So many people have lost their money. Listen, in this current dispensation, the Securities and Exchange Commission has closed down 52 companies. These 52 companies are holding 8 billion cedis of Ghanaians' money, hard-earned money, money from pensioners, money from blind people, money from churches, money, welfare funds. This money is, for all intents and purposes, gone. Because we failed to speak up. When companies were undertaking an illegal transaction, they were regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. They were not banks. They did neither had the capital nor the skill to undertake the transactions where they were promising customers returns. Because they were not supposed to do that, there's no safety net. Because there's no capital, there's no safety net. And so as we sit, whereas if you were the financial sector cleanup in the Bank of Ghana, there was a safety net and Bank of Ghana will give you some money back. If you were on sorry, nada, no money back. The government is saying that as a social intervention, it may give you some money. We've heard estimates of anywhere around 10,000. But guess what? If the government gives you 10,000 out of the kindness of its heart, it's 10,000 to you, whether you had 10,000 cedis in the financial institution or 5 million cedis in the financial institution. And even then, where's that money coming from? The government is broke. 40% of its revenue goes towards salaries. Another 40% goes towards servicing debt. Where's the rest of the money?
Where do we go from here?
Tough decisions. You see, there's no free lunch. Our leaders must square with us. I love what the young people say, be real. Our leaders must be real. They must tell us the truth. And then let us all collectively take the hard decisions. Let us share in the pain. Then we can all together take the real hard decisions that must be made. Let's know how tough these times are. And let us fix it for the generations to come.
I mean, I hear you, except I don't think it will be done. I'm sorry to sound so, what's the word?
Pessimistic.
But you are 55, you're a young man for me. I'm 63.
A nice looking 63-year-old.
I've heard the film. I've heard how we should do things. I've heard we will do it. I've heard it all. So I'm sorry, now when I'm hearing it, like I believe in what you're saying, and I so wish that would happen, but I'm like, yeah. There's something about us, Joe, don't you think?
I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
So I always have hope.
Yeah.
The day I lose hope is the day I die. So I always have hope.
Yeah.
Although it's good. Admittedly, the hope is tenuous now. But I always have hope.
Yeah.
What worries me is that, you see, when I talk about 79 making an impression on me, here's also why I worry. That willy-nilly, we're heading to the point, we're heading to breaking point, where now it may need the rapture of 79 to do a course correct. And you and I know that that was a terrible experience on the psyche of this nation. And you know what? We've forgotten so quickly. We've forgotten so quickly about how terrible those times were. And why I have to have hope is that I fear, my real fear is that if we don't have hope, if we don't try and speak up, one day that rapture will occur again. And people will feel justified in grabbing their machetes and marching to East Legon, where we live and where this studio is, right? Because they will feel that they've been betrayed by the people who live here.
And I hear you. And that's the kind of rapture sort of that happened in 79. What, we killed 8 former heads of states or 4, something.
It's not
bloody. People were in the streets saying, let the blood flow.
Yes.
And Joe, looking back now,
nothing has changed.
Because we've come full circle and now we are now talking about, hey, let this not happen again. My worry is, it's like we're going in a cycle and, you know, I know there's something called, what is it called?
Deja vu. I feel a sense of deja vu.
Yeah.
I feel that the same scenarios are playing out again. The same levels of corruption or higher levels of corruption. The same arrogant politicians on both sides who don't seem to understand how the common man is feeling. And the fact that we always play the same tune. Growth is good. GDP is rising. Inflation is down. This and that. And yet at the bottom, life is hard. For my ding. And people are feeling the pain. And guess what? The pain is worse now. Because when you don't see people who are outstandingly rich, your pain is less. You see? That's what we see. You walk down the streets of Ghana and people are driving lavish, luxurious cars side by side with people who can't afford a new pair of shoes to walk. I'm not even talking about a car. I worry.
And Joe, this is getting very exciting. We have to bring you back sometime. Because I'll keep you know. But no, this is all great food for thought, you know. And we have to end it, unfortunately, because time. But you've really tickled us, and so we'll find a time to get you back so that we can continue the discussion. You know, I always say this, that in Ghana, we always say we are sick and tired. We are sick and tired. But I always add that when you are sick and tired, it's not enough.
No.
You can't create any change being sick and tired. You can only start changing when you become sick and tired of being sick and tired. We're not there yet. We're not sick and tired of being sick and tired yet. And I hope your last words.
My last words.
Yeah, in 1 minute.
There's hope.
There's hope.
There's hope.
Put your hands together, man. Shut it out, and we'll be right back.
The KSM Show.